Welcome to Google Classroom. You can find this at classroom.google.com or just search for Google Classroom in your Google search bar and you end up here. Now this is what you see and very similar to what your students see. To get started with any class, if you don't already have classes in your window right here, you click on the tiny little plus to create or join class. Now, if you already have some classes here, you can just click on the actual title, and you know that you can click there, and when it underlines, it doesn't work if you just click somewhere in the colored space. You actually have to click on the text of the title to get in. Now, I have 6 classes here. If you are a social studies teacher at the high school level, you might want to have 6 different sections, right? You have your period 1, your period 2, your period 3. Keep that, because you have 180 students, keep that very segmented. Now, if you are a self-contained teacher at the elementary school level, I would recommend having one Google Classroom, Mr. Smith's class, Mrs. Johnson's class, and within there you can have different topics: reading, spelling, science, history, things like that. So let's get started. We're going to create a new class. So I'm going to click on my plus right there, and I'll click Create Class. I have to give this a name. So I'm going to call this American History. And let's just pretend this is period 3. I'm going to call this Social Studies History Department. And this is going to be in room 307. All right. I click Create. Now, before I do this, the name of the class is the only thing that is required. The rest of this is optional. So I click Create, and it takes just a few moments. Now, while this is working, let me tell you why Google Classroom is something you might want to use. This does not replace good teaching. This does not make students stare at their screens all day long. What this does do is allow educators to easily distribute work to students. It allows them to have everything funneled through the same screen. They can create their work on a screen and return it back to the teacher. When you assign something to a student, you can make a copy for them, and it actually burns their name onto the file name. So no more, oh, I forgot to put my name on there. So this makes our lives easier. We'll talk in a few moments about how this makes parents' lives a little bit more difficult, because everything now might come through Google Classroom, and they're not going to see as many papers coming in home in the backpack. But we'll talk about that. This is your Google Classroom screen, and you see, boy, it was smart enough. I typed the word American History, and it gave me a flag background. If I want to change it, I can. I can click Select Theme, and I can have different backgrounds if I want. Or I can actually upload photos. So I could have a panoramic photo of my class or something like that. Now, from here, across the top, we have our hamburger menu. I'll click on there just to show that this is where all of our classes can be, so I can kind of swap between different classrooms, the ones that I am teaching, and also the ones that I'm enrolled in. And you can see that sometimes school administrators set up a Google Classroom with the faculty as their students, and this is how they get to distribute important employee paperwork to everyone. I can also go into my archived classes from past years and make global settings here. But I don't want to do anything right here, so I'm going to click out of that window. American History, period 3. I have 3 tabs right here. I've got Stream, Classwork, and People. Now, this has changed in August of 2018. This was rearranged slightly, which caused a lot of upset and grief, but when you play around with it, it makes pretty good sense. So the stream is kind of like your Facebook stream. The newest things show up on top, and it bumps everything else down. If I want to just share something with my class, I can say, check this out. And maybe I have a cool video on a constitution. And right there, I'm going to find a video. I'll click add, and now this has gone out to all of my students. And I can click post. I can also upload, attach PDFs or MP3s or movie files, something like that. Anything that comes from my Google Drive, if I've already created a document for students to use, they can do that right from my Google Drive. If I want to, again, include a YouTube video right there, or have a hyperlink that I want all of my students to click on, follow, and then read a resource that's somewhere online. So in the stream, this is where you communicate with your class. You can put announcements there. You can respond to things that your students have written. And you can also see what upcoming assignments that you will be collecting from your students. From their end, they're seeing what's going to be due, what they have to turn into you very soon in this little box right here. Now, before I assign this, do I want this to go out to only period 3? Or do I want it to go to all of my classes? If I teach 5 of the same course in different sections, maybe I just want to assign it to all students at once. Now here's something great. If you're differentiating your instruction or differentiating the work that students are creating, if I had students in my class right now, I could just click on only these students or everybody but these few students. So you can actually pretty directly assign work to only certain students, which is there. And I'm going to click Google Docs, and I'm going to include a Google Doc called demo form. And I want to see what this looks like. That's not the one that I wanted, so I'm going to go back and I'm going to cancel that. That's not the form that I wanted to share with my students. I'm going to try something else. I'm going to click on my Google Drive, come back to my drive, and oh boy, I want them to look at this. What have you learned? Great. Awesome. That's what I want to assign. All right, so I can click post, or with this little drop-down caret, I can say, I'm not ready. I'm going to be absent on Friday. So I want this to show up in my students' Google Classroom at, say 8:14 a.m. Or I can say save draft, and I'm just going to use this for later. Maybe I'm plowing through a lot of extra work over the weekend. I'm going to save all of my draft assignments and assign them when appropriate. So I'm going to click post. And there it is. And there it shows up. Now, if I want to assign classwork, this is slightly different. And this is one thing that has changed in the latest iteration of Google Classroom. Here I can actually have assignments. So to clarify, stream, when I just click add something here, this is just me putting an announcement out to the class. But if I actually want to assign work that I'll be collecting, this shows up in classwork. So I'm right here going to create. I have options. Create assignment, create a question. All right, everyone, what's the capital of Turkmenistan? And they can answer via Google Classroom. I can also post materials. Maybe I have reference documents or reading log docs or PDFs of the textbook that we don't have online yet. There's also the reuse post, which is kind of nice if you're teaching the same thing year to year. You can reuse posts from previous years and save yourself a little bit of work. There's also this section here called topic. Now this is where a self-contained classroom would have reading and spelling and math and science. But maybe a high school teacher would say chapter 1. Everything, all the resources from chapter 1 would show up right here. Or maybe Maybe I have a topic called slow. Maybe I have a topic called homework. And maybe I have another topic called quizzes or self-assessments or extra resources. So it's really your choice about how you design this class. Everything is done inside of Create. Now, maybe for chapter 1, I'm going to click Create. I'm going to say this is an assignment. And I'm going to call this homework regarding the Declaration of Independence. And the instructions are do this. And it's going to be worth, I don't know, 1,000 points. The due date, I'm going to say this is due Thursday night at 8 p.m. Now, some teachers have their homework due the moment before class starts. Some teachers say it has to be done by midnight. Now, if you do this and you know your students, maybe they're staying awake all night, maybe you say, hey, I'm going to teach you how to be a little bit more, use your time a little bit more wisely. Go home, do your homework before dinner. This is going to be due at 8 p.m. tonight. It's up to you. Now, I'm going to add something from Google Drive. And I'm going to use that Office PowerUp again. Just a demo document. Now, here I can say, what do I want students to do with this? Do I only want them to see it? Is it just a reading material? Do I want all of the students to have access to edit this one single file? Which means maybe 30 students are all editing this at the same time. You might not want to use that one too often. I think the most common one that people use is make a copy for each student. Great. You can also, again, add uploads from your computer, YouTube videos, links, things like that. But I'm going to click Assign. It assigns it to all my students. It shows up in classwork. And if I go back to Stream, it shows here. Your teacher's name posted a new assignment called Homework Regarding the Declaration of Independence. When the student clicks on it, they have the option to open the document. They have the ability to see, fill out the document, read the instructions, things like that, and turn it back in. Now, from the teacher's side, I can see all of my students who has done their work, who has not done it. It used to be called turned in, not turned in. I guess it's just a little bit more sensitive now. Now it's just called assigned. But this is the section where it means they've been assigned, they just haven't done it yet. And you can sort by all the ones that have been turned in, all the ones that have been assigned, and all the ones that have been graded. Now, if I'm only looking at the assigned ones, I can actually send an email to only certain students who maybe haven't turned in their work yet. So I can just filter by the kids who haven't done the homework and send them a little nudge. Hey, by the way, this is due tomorrow. Once this is done, I can return the work to the students with all of my comments on it. There are a few more options here as well. If I click on the instructions, I can see kind of how I have set it up right here. When it comes to student work, if I open this up, there are some options to have a bank of comments that you can give to students, which I'll show you in a minute as well. All right, so I'm going to come back here. Come back to my American history page. And I do that because most of these things are hyperlinked. Now you're probably thinking, well, this is great. This is how I can assign work, but I don't have any students in the class. Well, I'm coming to this one last, although this is probably what you will do on the first day of school. Click on People. This is where I see all of my students. I can invite them. If I want to invite a student, I can type their name right here. And I can invite her to the class. Or the easiest way to do it is to click on the gear menu and I can find my class code. And I'm going to click display, and I'm going to make this full screen. Now, on the first day of class, students all come in, you say, please go to Google Classroom, click on the little plus, enter this code that you see up on screen, and within moments, your entire class is populated. Very, very simple. There's very little setup that you have to do. Now, because we're giving this to our students after we've already assigned work, guess what? The student joins the class and there's work already waiting for them. Pretty nice. So you can actually already have your first week of school planned out by the time your students come in, and there's just a lot of work waiting for them. At this point, you've got a new student showing up in October. You can also give them this code. It might be a little easier at that point to click invite student and just invite them via their email address. That's people. And from here, you can find all of your students. If you want to add a co-teacher, maybe it's a long-term sub who will be taking over your class. You don't want to give away the farm. You still want to be able to add things to the class, but you want to give this teacher some opportunity to run the class while you're seeing what's going on. You can invite another teacher. Maybe you want to invite the maybe the paraprofessionals in your class. This works as well. So you can invite them as teachers. When you invite them to teachers, notice what it says down here. Teachers you add can do everything you can except delete the class. So again, choose wisely. I'll click cancel here. Across the top, we've got stream classwork people. Now in our gear menu, we can make changes by clicking on the little pencil right there. We can make any changes. Whoa, there's a water leak in room 307. I have to go back down to the second floor. I can change my room number there. If I need to, I can always change the course code. Maybe students are handing it out to their friends and you've got 150 kids in one class. You can always reset it and kick out the students who don't belong there. Stream, students can post and comment. Students can only comment, or only teachers can post and comment. This is the most liberal right here. Students can ask a question to the class, and another student can answer them. And knowing your students, if you want to have them have that flexibility and that freedom to have conversations, maybe after school hours, maybe at 3 in the morning, maybe asynchronously. If this is something that you encourage, sure, let them use can post and comment. But you know your students, so maybe you want only teachers can post or comment. From here, we have a few more options, which I'm going to link to because these are some of the newest features, and because I don't have any students in my class, and because I don't have any assignments, I can't show you everything. So I've got a few links to some of the new features inside of Google Classroom.